Hello, thanks for tuning in again. Jim here in the contrary fuchsia. And our plant of the week this week is one of my favourites. Isn't that a surprise? It is one of my favourites though, because it's an incredibly versatile clump forming perennial, which gives you the most fabulous display for weeks and weeks and weeks on end if you deadhead it and give it a bit of tender loving care. It's called Alstroemeria, Peruvian Lily, Lily of the Incas, Parrot Lily. But it's Alstroemeria to everybody else. And that's our plant of the week this week on the contrary fuchsia. The plant family is Alstroemeriaceae, funny enough, and the name comes from a Swedish botanist called Baron Klaus von Alstroemer. So it's fairly simple. Alstroemeria, he discovered it, and it is a native of South America. So I'm sure if you research and do a bit of looking into Baron von Klaus Alstroemer, you'll see that he went to South America looking for plants, which is how we've discovered an awful lot of our plants down through the ages. So Alstroemeriaceae, small genus of plants, but nonetheless, for its size, it packs a punch. The height and spread of Alstroemeria is roughly 30 to 60 centimetres height or spread. So what's that, 1 foot by approximately 2 foot height and spread. They can get it spread a little bit further than that, but that means they've been in the ground too long, and at that stage you will need to dig them up and divide them in the autumn. But they're not a big plant, but for the size of them, they give a magnificent display. The ideal growing conditions for Alstroemeria is in full sun or partial shade, probably around where I'm walking now. They'll absolutely thrive. You need to feed them. Don't feed them, if they're in the ground and you've got good soil, then I wouldn't really worry about feeding them too much, because if you feed them and the soil is already rich in nutrients, then they become leggy and you won't get the value of the flowers. They just won't. They'll become all leggy and weak. And they won't last as long either. So the secret really to getting long-lasting flowers, and this plant will flower for weeks on end, is that you deadhead it regularly, whether it's in the ground, in a border, or in a container. Just do it that. The soil, as I said, keep it moist. Don't let it dry out completely. And certainly when you plant it first, make sure that until it's fully established, that it does have a good watering system, and that the root ball itself is wet. There's just a lob water on top of the ground and hope it soaks in. So give it a good soaking every so often. Like any other plant, make sure it's actually wet going into the ground, and that helps a great deal to getting the plant established as quick as possible. So very, very easy to look after. Will grow in most situations, in a border, in a pot. And you'll have, as I say, weeks of flowering out if you're well-maintained Alstroemeria. If you're going to propagate your Alstroemeria and you have a big clump at home, then it's easy to propagate. In spring or autumn, I would do it in autumn or early spring. Don't leave it too late. You need to dig it up out of the ground and split the root ball as you would any perennial. You can grow it from seed, but I wouldn't bother. Let the nurseries do that. Let the nurseries do, growing it at home by seed is difficult and you don't get the results. Or you can take root cuttings from the rhizome in the autumn time, and they're quite successful as well. So if you have a glasshouse, certainly if you're lucky enough to have a glasshouse, then by all means take a few root cuttings and see how you get on with them. And this plant will produce little plantlets for years and years. You can divide them, spread the love, give them to friends and neighbours as gifts. What's the best thing about Alstroemerias? Well, their flowers are a symbol of long-lasting life and prosperity. The lily-like flowers, they're called dancing lilies also as another name, because they kind of twist as they're opening, and they really are a gorgeous flower. But the really standout feature of Alstroemerias is that as a cut flower, they last for absolute ages. I have a couple of plants of them at home and we bring them inside. What I usually do is make a fresh cut at the end of the stem that you've taken the flower, or the stem with the flower at the end of it off of. And you can use a very weak solution of domestos or bleach, very weak though. But what I prefer to do is use slightly warm water, dissolve sugar into it, and I find that that actually gives the plant an extra few days. That's maybe evidence that I can't back up with science, but it's just from my own growing of them at home. And you can buy them as cut flowers. They're used in bouquets, and again, for their colour and the look of them, the exotic, very exotic look of them. So beautiful plant as a cut flower. So that's your Alstroemeria for this week's plant of the week. As I said at the start, another one of my favourites, but it really should be one of yours as well. It's a magnificent plant, easy to grow, easy to purchase. Not the cheapest plant in the garden centre now, mind you. They're about €15 in a 3-litre pot, so they're not the cheapest plant, but they're definitely worth it. And if you haven't got one, then get one. If you haven't got a border to put it into a container. It'll thrive there. Just watch out for the feeding and give it a feeding. I only feed mine once a year. It's, you know, I've had them for years and I split them regularly, and I deadhead them regularly, and I get great value out of them. I get a second flush of flowers, and sometimes even a third flush of flowers from them. So I'm well rewarded for a little effort. That's our plant of the week this week. I'm Jim. This is the Contrary Fuchsia, and thanks for tuning in.